Hi, guys. So I was just watching this podcast with Ben Meisalas, and he was talking about the absence of Black appointees in President-elect Donald Trump's evolving cabinet, right? And he was especially making fun of Senator Tim Scott and the rep from Florida, um, Byron Donalds, I want to say, who have been passed over for appointments after throwing their very hearts and kidneys and spleen and their teeth and just every part of their anatomy into the ring for Donald Trump. And then he just passes them over, at least so far, right? But look, what do I think about it? I think it's to some extent hypocrisy, right? Because if maybe hypocrisy is not the right word, but I'm not sure what the word is. But I just feel like Trump has never pretended to be into diversity all throughout of his campaigns and running. I mean, okay, he does go when he was running to the black churches, and he did go to the fast food places like Chick-fil-A or McDonald's, whatever, and he had the rappers and so on, but and he loves Mike Tyson. He loves Mike Tyson. He has other black celebrity friends over the years. He loves rappers. I mean, he helped to free, was it Travis Scott or ASAP Rocky or one of these people? I'm not even sure. Trump will do what he can. Trump freed that. Kim Kardashian got him to free a black woman from prison. I mean, would Biden have done the same thing? I'm not so sure, right? You know, there are moments when Trump steps up for black people, for sure, right? And a lot of black people love Trump. I've always said, he was my hero at one point. I mean, I didn't want him to be president, but I don't hate Trump. And I think if I needed Trump's help and I called on Trump, Trump would help me if he could hear me, right? But he's never really struck me as the type of guy who was into hiring black people for certain jobs. And he never pretended otherwise. This is just truth. He's not a hypocrite in that sense. He doesn't pretend to be anything that he is not, or you're his friend, or da 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 da. Yes, but there are boundaries, and he's always made that clear. So it should not come as a surprise to people that Byron Donalds and Tim Scott are not in his inner circle of power, given, his administration's consistent stance on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and things like that. And especially now that Elon Musk is his co-president. I mean, let's just be serious, right? You're not going to see a whole bunch of black people being picked because, DEI is a negative in their circles. That's not necessarily my viewpoint, but that's how it is. And Trump has never pretended otherwise, right? From the start of his political career, Trump and his advisors, Elon Musk comes to mind, have openly criticized DEI initiatives, framing them as divisive rather than unifying the nation, right? Right? This ideological foundation, coupled with his campaign rhetoric and the presence of a man like Elon Musk, strongly suggested that racial and ethnic diversity would not be a priority in his administration. It's not something that he's factoring into his calculus when he picks his cabinet, right? I think Elon Musk and Trump and men of this ilk, all of whom are in charge of the country right now, they see this whole, having that token black person as a concession, as if he's only hiring people because they are black and not because they are qualified for the job. Or even if they are qualified, there may be others who he feels are just more qualified. There are always going to be others who are more qualified, right? Okay, for some of us, it seems that being black means you are automatically unqualified. I'm black, And so for me, yeah, it's like this. They don't want you. You're illiterate. You have no IQ. Automatically, you're unqualified. You're not getting that job. You're not getting certain jobs. And if you have it, they harass you till you leave because you got it because of some kind of DEI. It seems that way to us. But look, Trump never pretended to prioritize diversity in his inner echelons, okay? I mean, and not to make excuses or anything, but I don't think Tim Scott or Byron Donalds expected cabinet positions or especially certain high level ones, right? Because they don't want to be labeled as DEI appointments, right? They want to earn it the hard knocks way like everyone else. And they know that there are other more qualified people than they for each one of those positions that they did not get, right? So you have Ben Meisalas on his podcast highlighting this lack of black representation in Trump's cabinet, and he's pointing out the omission of individuals like Byron Donalds and Senator Tim Scott, who, again, are both staunch Trump supporters, right? And so, despite their loyalty and public defense of Trump, Meisalas suggests that their exclusion underlines a deeper issue: the administration's disinterest in addressing the lack of diversity in leadership roles. And Meisalas also suggests that for Trump, cabinet positions seem less about reflecting the demographics of America and more about reinforcing the dominance of a predominantly white political and economic elite. But the rhetoric around DEI as bad for America has provided a rationale for policies and appointments that deprioritize diversity. And this was an open secret, right? Everybody knew that this is what Trump's platform is about. All of his advisors, that's their worldview. And they still voted for Trump by the millions and millions and millions, including a lot of black men, not just Scott and Donald, right? I mean, a lot of them, right? So they're okay with it, right? This, their perspective that DI is bad for America sees racial representation not as a step toward equality, but as an unnecessary concession. And these people are not in the business of making concessions, especially ones that are unnecessary, right? Now, Meisalas and other critics may argue that this undermines progress towards an inclusive democracy. Maybe I agree, right? Reducing the opportunities for marginalized voices to influence national policy. Maybe I agree, right? However, this is only one way of looking at it. Our point of view is our point of view. I mean, Trump sees it differently. The people around him see it differently, and he's never been a hypocrite about that. And many countries lack diversity and do just fine. Look at China, right? Look at China, right? You don't need diversity to succeed, and they know it, right? Meisalas talks about the irony. He hints that this failure by Trump to appoint either Donalds or Scott to his high level, sorry about that, Donalds or Scott to high level cabinet positions exposes the transactional nature of Trump's relationships with black supporters. It's like their value lies in their public endorsements rather than their capacity to shape policy. I mean, that's sort of, what Meisalas is getting at. But Tim Scott, I don't think Tim Scott shares this view, and neither does Byron Donalds, right? Um, Figures like Tim Scott and Byron Donalds have publicly argued that Trump's policies have benefited Black Americans, and they know that they will benefit in some way from Trump's administration, right? And they both know they're bound to get some kind of position, just not in the inner circles of power. And this is fine for them because they know deep down that they're not qualified to be in the inner circles with the big guys, and they don't want to be DEI appointees, right? They will take whatever they get, however low that is on the totem pole, because that's what they're qualified for. And they know that any position is better than no position. They don't have to be, a co-president like Elon Musk, right? They're okay with where they are and what they get. Ultimately, the lack of Black representation in Trump's cabinet isn't just a failure of inclusion. It's really, it's a worldview. It's a foundational value, and I may not agree with it, but I don't have to agree with everything. And people like Tim Scott and Byron Donalds, they are 100% on board with this, with these values, with these foundational values, and they did not expect any high-level cabinet positions under these circumstances. They are okay with it, right? They're 100% on board with it, right? So Meisalas can just relax, right? Tim and Byron are fine. Anyway, you guys, see you in the next one. Take care. Bye. And do subscribe. Hit the notification bell so that you can get my